We're officially in a new era of San Antonio Spurs basketball. It's no longer Timmy, Manu, and Parker. Kawhi's not there anymore. The only person from the dynasties that's still around is Greg Popovich. And I'd love to see how he manages to coach Victor Wembanyama. Because while I think that the Spurs were the best option for Wemby to go to in terms of his development, I think when it comes to his freedom offensively, they're going to have more of like a no-nonsense approach. He's not going to be taking one-legged threes, one-legged fadeaways, or nothing crazy like that. And I think it's going to take a second for Wemby to really get adjusted to NBA offense. Because that's usually how it goes when it comes to NBA players, especially coming from overseas. They usually have to get used to the way the game is played. Only person in recent memory who really didn't have to go through that transition was like Luka. But even then, Luka is like a 1 in a million type of player. But where I think Wemby's impact is going to show off the jump is the defensive side. During the summer league, Wembanyama had stretches where he had the paint on lockdown. The other team refused to go in the paint because they knew Wembanyama was just going to block it every single time. And I think off the rip, that's the kind of impact that Wembanyama is going to have. He's going to be such a good rim protector, especially in a couple years. I think he's going to be an easy lock for Defensive Player of the Year. He just has that type of potential with his size, with his wingspan, and I think the Spurs should utilize him as like a roamer, kind of like Anthony Davis, someone who just roams around the paint area and plays good help side defense. The concern I have for Wemby though is his foot speed, because that might be something that he is going to have a tough time like trying to adjust to in the NBA. Smaller guards might try and get Wemby switched onto them just because they know Wemby isn't really that quick on his feet. So that might be something that he has to get used to. But other than that, I think Wembanyama can legitimately take the Spurs defense from probably bottom 10 to around maybe 15th, just off of his defensive presence alone, because that's how great of an impact his defense has. But as far as offensively, I think he'll average somewhere around 18, 19 points per game, 9 to 10 rebounds, and maybe 1.5 blocks per game. But outside of Wembanyama, the Spurs are actually looking really interesting. They have some great young talent in Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, who are two players who have great scoring abilities, especially Vassell. I think Vassell is a perfect guard you can put next to Wembanyama because he operates a lot in the perimeter. He has a really good mid-range shot, which I'm a believer in. The three-point shot is really solid. He averaged nearly 40% from 3 on 7 attempts. I think with him and Wembanyama, we could see a lot of handoff action in the pick and roll, where Vassell could get those easy mid-range shots. Sooner or later, that's going to be tough to guard. And then you have a guy in Keldon Johnson who is very, very, very athletic. And while his numbers might take a dip, if the Spurs utilize Wemby's playmaking to get him some open opportunities at the rim, it's no doubt he can fit in with this team. Also, Jeremy Sohan and Trey Jones are two players who have a ton of potential as well. Yeah, man, it's a new era.